I opened with a space pun because I'm going to talk to you guys about SpaceX today. You guys mentioned before the podcast that you watched a documentary about SpaceX and their launch. No, you guys didn't. You just
We saw the trailer
Oh,
today.
guys, you
So
saw the
we're
trailer.
planning on watching it after the show, and then we're like, hey, everybody has to watch this now because we're going to talk about it next week.
Well, yeah, we will talk about it. So SpaceX has been in the news so much lately, and they are going to do a launch on September 15th. So I believe this episode will drop on Spotify, Friday the 17th?
Yeah.
Oh, Friday the 17th?
17th, yeah.
So when this episode drops, it would have already launched. But SpaceX is going to be launching a crew into orbit called the Inspiration 4. And the cool thing about this is that it's an all civilian crew. So these people are not like NASA astronauts by any means, but they are very highly qualified people. And this is really exciting for a number of reasons. But I just want to know, do you guys know anything about this launch or this crew?
I was going to say, I actually the trailer for the documentary is actually the first thing I've seen about Inspiration 4. So it was kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But
Yeah.
Are they like retired Air Force pilots kind of thing?
No. So there's 4 of them. The pilot, her name's Dr. Cyan Proctor. She's a geologist. And she was actually a finalist in 2009 astronaut camp for NASA. So she does have like the experience there, but not as an astronaut. And the benefactor for the whole mission is actually a guy named Jared Isaacman. He was a high school dropout. He made a company called Ship For You in his parents' basement, and he has made millions upon millions of dollars. And doing what he was doing. So he's going to be on it. He's going to be the commander and managing communications with ground control. Then you have Haley Arnevu. She is a medic. And fun fact, she's the first person to go into space with a previous prognosis, which meaning that she had like childhood cancer and she survived. So normally people who are becoming astronauts, they have a perfect bill of health. Well, she does have previous medical issues, but she is healthy now and she's going to space. She's actually the youngest American to be going to space, which is pretty exciting for her. And then lastly, we have Chris Sambrowski. He's going to be managing the experiment. So he's more of like a scientist. And there's a couple of different things that they're going to be doing upon this launch. Normally, it takes about 2 years for a crew to get ready to go into space. This timeline has been crunched down by like months. I think it was like 9 months. It was September through April.
Mm-hmm.
And the fun thing about this is that the SpaceX ship, when it launches, it's not going to dock to the International Space Station. And where they have that like cone that opens up that docks to the space station, it's actually going to be like a little dome. So they can go up there and they can look at like space and stuff. So they're going to be in orbit. They're going to be the highest that any humans have been away from Earth since 2009. And they'll be there for 3 days. So in these 3 days, they will be doing experiments like health-wise, what it does on the body, psychologically, physically, etc., and taking different biosamples. Scary is afraid of heights. I'm also afraid of heights,
Same.
But this is really exciting for science. Right?
Being afraid of heights means there has to be something like you can fall and die. At this point, you're gonna float away. So it's like I got a fear of space.
I didn't realize I have a new fear. Anyway, NJ.
But honestly, if any of you amazing people in chat ever need a crew member for the flight you're gonna purchase, call me.
Yeah. Crazy will definitely want to go into space. I will go into space if it's like a life or death situation. Yeah, so there's a couple different things that they're going to be monitoring. And something else that I thought was pretty interesting is that Apple is supplying a lot of the tech for these experiments that they're going to be doing. So they'll be taking Apple Watch Series 6, an iPad 4 mini, and the iPhone 12 Pro, and that will help track their biodata. So it's pretty astounding, like, for Apple to come up from like an advertising perspective, like, can be used in space.
Astronauts already hacked. Astronauts iCloud hacked while in space.
Yeah, it's just really cool because they're monitoring for health experiments. So there's one thing called Butterfly IQ Plus, and it's basically like an ultrasound. So with AI's help, you put this device on you, and it shows you, like, what's going on underneath your skin. And with the guided AI, you don't have to be a doctor, so to speak, to diagnose something. So they're really trying to test it up or ramp up for our inevitable, like, deep space missions or going to Mars, and how we can kind of, I don't know, do that as humans when we have so many limitations. So nerdy. I love it. I love everything about it. I can't wait to launch on the 15th. I believe NASA has a Twitch, and they usually stream their launches, so look out for that. I'm excited.
SpaceX also, on their YouTube, they stream everything live. So
yeah,
it's kind of surprising how Apple is being the one leading this kind of data collection idea, especially when they never had a proper, like, Apple Watch prototype until what year did the Apple Watch come out?
With Samsung having the leading technology the majority of the time, like, why?
Maybe the leading technology was too expensive.
I mean, for one, Apple, it makes me wonder if Apple's been working on this for a few years to, like, be the technology.
I don't know.
To lead it.
I'm gonna say, is there any real difference in their or is this just they're using their regular built-in health features of their devices and seeing if they work in space, or did they specially develop this tech for space? That's the question.
I'm not sure. I'll have to research that. But the regular biometrics that I've seen, like the videos, it's just everything that I can see on my watch or on my phone to track certain things. But there's more to it. So I'm pretty sure there's some type of program that helps with biometric data, because it has to send it to, I think it was like 2 Ivy League education systems, like Cornell and one other place that's going to be researching this data. So I don't know. That's a good question. Long answer for a short, response. I don't know.
So another thing, is this like the whole space pen situation where the U.S. spent like $3 million developing the space pen when the Russians just use a pencil?
There's more to that story. Well, the reason why is because the graphite can actually ignite in space.
Yeah.
I love stuff like this, and I think it's definitely going to change a lot. And from this mission, it's actually, the benefactor is using any proceeds that come from this, or sponsors or whatever, to raise awareness and money for St. Jude's Hospital, which we all know in Texas is pretty well, but it's a child hospital that treats leukemia in children. So I thought that was actually a pretty good cause. Hopefully this will also make space more accessible, because right now it looks like only the super uber wealthy can go, but hopefully it takes steps to that.
I just want so bad for this guy to give a speech. Just be like, oh, yes, I'm the benefactor. I'm launching these people into space. Oh, yes.
He's a super normal guy.
Sir, you don't want to go into space yourself like Richard Branson or Jeff Bezos? Well, now that they technically never visited space.
Yeah, they didn't go to real space. We're going to real space, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So they're going out past the International Space Station.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exciting.
3 days in orbit.
So whenever we get in the Elon station, and I want it to be shaped like the space station from Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Oh my god.
Elon, make this happen. I know you're listening.
I thought that he was gonna push past the space station and just set up a
Moon base,
station on the moon. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, you would assume that they do put a space station. Like that makes more sense to have like a safety station in space where SpaceX has extra rockets that they could launch immediately to get to the moon quick as possible.
Would it be like between the moon and the current space station? Like slower outer orbit of the Earth?
I mean, right now, I believe we're on our second or third layer of actually shit. So they probably want to be in the fourth layer.
I don't know all that space debris.
I believe like Starlink went live in New York.
That's fucking cool.
So it's starting to come live across the country.
That's really cool. I had read that the International Space Station, and like, you know how it takes pictures of like hurricanes and stuff. Well, it wasn't until 9/11 that it wasn't used. It was used for looking at global events that happened on like land. And I thought that was interesting. Like September 11th just passing, there was a couple of documentaries.
Yeah. To answer your question, Maddie, yeah, it's a little weird to build on the moon. Like, I don't want to look up at the moon and see giant McDonald golden arches. Okay, that's like one thing I never want to see.
You also don't want to see moon ghosts. So,
well, yeah,
I mean, if the moon's haunted, we should leave that shit the fuck alone.
Yeah, but if we really do want to explore outside of the Earth itself, we have to have the moon base, right? The moon has a fraction of the gravity, so it's a lot easier to launch with less fuel. I mean, we can't really orbit everything around the Earth. Eventually, we know we need that launch pad to Mars, and the moon would have to be the launch pad. It is the best way to get to Mars.
Yeah, I agree. But if the moon's haunted, fucking salt circles around that bitch.
My question is like, how vulnerable would the moon be to like getting pelt by like, asteroids? Like,
that's the purpose of the moon. I mean, it protects the Earth from the. I mean, that's like, one of its purposes.
If we build a base, wouldn't the base be like, I guess, prone to asteroid attacks?
Yeah. I mean, but that's space. Welcome to space. At any moment, an asteroid could fly through your ship. A little rock that big fly through your ship, and you're all dead.
Madly,
it falls out of orbit. Madly, more than likely, it's falling to Earth, and we won't have any issues.
I don't think the
right
fall out of orbit too. It's like at the perfect distance. I think there's a greater chance of the International Space Station falling out of orbit than the moon is.
So the moon is actually getting further away. So we have a mirror set up on the moon landing site, and every year we shoot a laser at it and back. And we know that every year it gets a little bit further and further away. So we're more likely to lose the moon than it fall out of the sky.
Right, just getting a rocket, chase it down.
And by the time it got away, we would already be established on Titan. So
the Earth like us, Titan.
Yeah.
Is that what you're or Titan AE. Okay.
No. Titan, the moon of Jupiter, that is the only other planet with an atmosphere in our solar system.
Yeah.
It's a moon of Jupiter?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's
cool. You watched the documentary. Was it on Prime?
Yeah.
Check it out. I love space.
Yeah, there's some great ones on Jupiter. I mean, if you really get into the whole Jupiter's actually the real solar system and we're just an anomaly, it blows your mind.
Holy fuck, I never thought about that.
It is, yeah.
But
Jupiter has over 60 moons circling it, and we know one to have an atmosphere and one to contain water.
I remember them finding the ice on the moon a couple years back.
Yeah, Europa has. We haven't 100% identified water, but we do have evidence that the surface has cracked because of Jupiter, and then it has frozen back over. So that suggests that water rose up and froze over.